Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into this really fascinating collection of ancient dialogues and teachings.
Mm,
And these aren't just, relics. They offer surprisingly relevant practical insights for navigating modern life, understanding ourselves.
yeah, and even how we talk to each other, right? How we have
Yeah,
meaningful conversations.
exactly. Our source material today is from a foundational text, gives us these profound interactions, timeless lessons.
And what's so compelling, I think, is how these ancient conversations, they still resonate with such clarity, offering concrete guidance.
Right.
So our mission for this deep dive, it's really to distill the most important nuggets of knowledge from these discussions, help you cut through the noise, maybe.
Yeah, cut through the noise and gain some practical wisdom that genuinely challenges how we usually think.
Exactly. Challenges conventional thinking.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's start with something really fundamental. Our deepest fears.
Okay.
Picture this. Two very old Brahmins, 120 years old. They approach this revered teacher.
Wow, 120.
Yeah. And they're at the end, and their main worry, their deepest fear, is that they've done nothing good.
Hmm. That hits hard, doesn't it?
It really does. They're seeking guidance, for their long-term well-being. It's a fear lots of us can relate to, I think.
Definitely. That feeling of reaching the end and are you unprepared, unfulfilled?
Right.
And the teacher's response is, well, it's stark, but realistic. He confirms their fears.
He doesn't sugarcoat it.
Not at all. He says life is swept away by old age, sickness, death, and crucially, there are no saviors from these things.
No external saviors.
Right. It's a direct, kind of unflinching look at impermanence.
But it doesn't just stop there at the fear. That's the key, isn't it?
No, absolutely not.
Here's the crucial insight. The teaching emphasizes self-restraint as the true refuge.
Self-restraint.
So what does that mean? Restraint in practice for someone today.
Well, it boils down to self-control. Body, speech, and mind. It's about consciously choosing actions that bring real long-term benefits.
Choosing wisely.
Precisely. And to highlight the urgency, the text uses this powerful analogy.
The burning house one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
What is taken out of a burning house is useful, not what is left inside.
It's so vivid.
It is. If your house is on fire, you act. You save what matters. You don't just stand there.
Right. So applied to life.
It means recognizing life is impermanent, like that burning house,
Yeah.
and acting proactively. Now, cultivate those beneficial actions.
Because what you leave behind, the good you didn't do.
It's like leaving valuables in the fire.
Mhm.
It won't help you when the inevitable arrives. It really puts the responsibility back on us,
Yeah.
for our actions and their consequences.
That urgency is, yeah, it's powerful. But often it's not just those big external fears holding us back, is it?
No, often it's our own internal stuff, patterns, impulses.
Exactly. Which leads us nicely into the next big insight from these sources, the inner landscape.
Hmm.
These discussions really dig into understanding and purifying what they call inner defilements.
They absolutely do. The texts pinpoint three core rucks of unwholesomeness. Greed, which is raga, aversion, dosa, and delusion, moha.
Raga, dosa, moha.
Yeah. And when any of these are active, they inevitably lead to mental suffering and to actions that harm ourselves and others.
Like violence, theft, lying.
All of it. They're basically the drivers behind so much personal anguish, societal conflict.
And the sources, they get really specific about how these feel, their characteristics. It's like a lens for self-observation.
It really is. Greed, raga, is described as mildly blameworthy but slow to fade.
Sticky.
Very sticky, hard to let go of. Then aversion, dosa, highly blameworthy but quick to fade.
It flares up, then maybe passes.
Right. Intense but potentially short-lived. And then delusion, moha.
The tricky one.
You could say that. Highly blameworthy and slow to fade. It sort of blinds us to reality.
So this raises the big question, why do these things arise? And more importantly, how do we actually overcome them?
Well, the teachings offer clear counterforces, antidotes almost. Greed comes from seeing attractiveness in things, right? So you counter it by deliberately shifting focus to unattractiveness.
Not in a negative way, but
No, not negative. More like seeing the impermanence, the lack of lasting substance to break the attachment.
okay. And aversion.
Aversion arises from seeing things as unpleasant, the antidote. Cultivating loving kindness, metta, that boundless goodwill towards everyone.
Metta, loving kindness.
Yeah. And delusion, moha, may be the deepest root. It comes from improper attention.
Improper attention, like being distracted. unskillful.
Exactly. A scattered, unskillful way of looking at things. So it's overcome by proper attention, wise discernment.
It's a remarkably clear roadmap, isn't it, for inner work?
It really is.
And it's uncanny how often you see these three: greed, aversion, delusion playing out. Not just big world events, but daily life.
Constantly.
Like, think about scrolling social media. The greed for likes, the aversion to opinions you hate,
Yeah.
the delusion that curated images are real.
Absolutely. It's all there.
So if someone listening wants to start applying this, what's like one small thing they could do, say in that social media scenario, to cultivate proper attention or perceiving unattractiveness?
That's a great question. It could be as simple as pausing, just pausing before reacting.
Okay.
You see that post that instantly triggers desire, greed, or irritation, aversion. Instead of jumping in,
Just breathe.
just a breath.
Yeah. For greed, maybe reflect. That attractive thing, it's fleeting, right? Pixels on a screen, not lasting happiness. For aversion, maybe try to recall the person behind the comment is, well, human, even if the view feels unpleasant.
So that pause creates space.
Exactly. That brief moment of proper attention can break the automatic cycle. Stop those small, unskillful reactions adding up.
That's really practical. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, building on this idea of inner work, understanding defilements,
Yeah.
let's look at how these teachings then challenge our external ideas.
Yes, like what success or wealth really means.
Or even expertise. These texts really redefine those terms, don't they? Profoundly. Take the idea of high couches, luxurious beds.
Right. Sounds pretty external.
It does. But in one conversation, the Buddha's asked about them, and he talks about his high beds. Divine, Brahma-like, and noble.
Okay. But not actual furniture.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They refer to states of mind. Deep meditation states, the jhanas. Boundless compassion, the Brahma viharas, loving kindness, compassion, joy, equanimity,
Okay.
and ultimately the complete eradication of greed, aversion, and delusion. That's the noble high bed.
So it completely flips the script on luxury, from external comfort to internal
It
freedom.
really flips it. And it's the same with threefold knowledge, Tveta.
Right. The traditional Brahmin idea was about birth, lineage, knowing texts.
Exactly. Hereditary purity, mastering the Vedas. But these texts say, no, the true Tveja is someone who's achieved deep meditative states, can recall past lives, sees how actions lead to rebirth, and crucially, has eradicated the defilements.
Wow. That's a much higher bar.
Much higher. And the text is blunt. It says the traditional definition is not worth a 16th part of this true knowledge.
So it really devalues that external status, the lineage, the rote learning.
Completely. In favor of inner wisdom,
Yeah.
cultivated direct insight. True expertise looks very different.
Fascinating. And sticking with external actions and views, what about giving? Generosity.
Yes. There's a passage where a wanderer basically accuses the teachings of being self-serving.
Like, you only tell people to give to you or your group.
Pretty much. A very modern-sounding accusation, actually, that charity is just for personal gain.
It does sound familiar, so how is it refuted?
Well, the teaching states that preventing someone from giving is actually harmful to the giver, the receiver, even the one preventing it.
Interesting.
It emphasizes that any giving generates merit, even giving, like, dishwashing water to tiny creatures.
So all giving has value.
Yes. However, it also explicitly says giving to the virtuous yields great fruit, regardless of their social status.
Okay, so the state of the recipient matters.
It seems so, for the result, for the giver. It uses that analogy of the ox.
Right, the strong ox.
Yeah, its value isn't its color, it's its ability to work. Similarly, a virtuous person is like a fertile field for merit.
A fertile field, meaning giving to them yields more benefit for the giver.
That's the idea. Because you're supporting qualities like non-greed, non-aversion, non-delusion. It amplifies the positive impact.
So what's the takeaway for us then? It's about shifting where we see real value.
I think so. Moving away from just external status, possessions, even the immediate buzz of giving, towards cultivating those inner states, that wisdom.
And understanding that virtuous actions, especially selfless giving, have this deeper, lasting impact.
Exactly.
Okay, this brings us to something truly, I think, revolutionary. A guide for inquiry. The Kalama Sutta.
Yes, the Kalama's dilemma.
Tell us about that. They were overwhelmed, right?
Totally overwhelmed. They lived in a town visited by many different teachers, all teaching different things, often contradicting each other.
Sounds like the internet age.
Doesn't it just? So they asked the Buddha, look, we're confused. Who should we believe?
A fundamental question.
And his answer is just Incredibly liberating and timeless. He tells them what not to base their belief on.
Okay, what's on the do not trust list?
It's comprehensive.
Yeah.
Don't go by hearsay or tradition or rumor or scriptures just because they're scriptures.
Wow. Well,
Or logic alone.
Yeah.
Or inference. Or reasoning by analogy. Or because it fits your own cherished view.
That's a big one. Confirmation bias.
Huge. Or because the speaker seems competent. Or even out of respect for your teacher.
That's breathtaking. He's basically dismantling all the usual authorities we rely on.
Pretty much.
So if we shouldn't rely on any of that stuff, what's left? What should guide us? How do we figure out what's true?
The core principle is rigorous self-discernment, grounded in your own experience and checking it against the wise.
How does that work?
The advice is, when you yourselves know through direct experience that certain things, qualities, actions are unwholesome.
Like what?
Like greed, aversion, delusion. When you see they're blameworthy, criticized by wise people, and they lead to harm and suffering, then you abandon them.
Okay. Based on seeing the results.
Exactly. And conversely, when you know for yourselves that other things, non-greed, non-aversion, non-delusion, are wholesome, blameless, praised by the wise, and lead to benefit and happiness, then you embrace them.
So you become your own testing ground, your own laboratory for truth.
Perfectly put.
And it talks about 4 assurances you get from this, right? In this life.
Yes, by living with non-ill will, non-malice, basically cultivating those wholesome states, you gain these assurances. A kind of inner peace, security.
And that's valid regardless of what you believe about an afterlife or karma.
That's the point. It's a foundation for peace now, based on the observable results of your actions. Very practical.
Which ties into communication too, doesn't it? The art of discussion.
It does. The texts emphasize productive conversation, how a wise speaker engages. They answer directly. They clarify points. They ask relevant questions. They avoid dodging the issue, getting angry, or attacking the person.
Unlike that wanderer, Sarapa.
Right. He was described as boastful, making grand claims, but when challenged, he was like a jackal trying to roar like a lion.
All noise, no substance.
Exactly. His claims just crumbled. Because the real point of discussion, according to these teachings, isn't winning or looking smart. It's explicitly stated liberation of mind.
Liberation of mind. That changes the whole goal of conversation, doesn't it?
Completely.
In today's world, just flooded with information, news, health advice, whatever, how vital is this Kalama framework for self-discernment?
Oh, incredibly vital. It feels more relevant than ever.
It's like an operating system for critical thinking, but grounded in ethics and personal experience.
Yeah.
Trust what you can verify through its results.
Precisely.
Okay, let's wrap up our deep dive by looking at the power of observance. Specifically, these different ways of observing a spiritual practice day, the Uposatha.
From the dialogue with Visakha.
It really shows how your intention shapes the whole thing.
Absolutely. The text outlines 3 very different approaches. First, the goat herd's Uposatha.
That's interesting.
Well, it's basically someone observing the day, just thinking about tomorrow, what they'll eat, drink, get, future consumption.
So, driven by craving.
Entirely. Rooted in greed. And the text says it brings very little real, lasting benefits, basically self-serving planning.
Okay, what's the next one?
The Nagantha's Uposatha. This involves a big external show, like stripping off clothes, declaring, I own nothing, nothing owns me.
Very ascetic looking.
Externally, yes.
Right.
But internally, it leads to contradictions. The person knows their family or servants belong to them, in a way.
So there's still attachment.
Exactly. Which can lead to lying, maybe even stealing, because the inner state doesn't match the outer performance. So this one's also called not very fruitful.
The inner reality clashes with the outer show.
Right. And then the third type.
The noble one's Uposatha.
Yes. This is held up as the highest form. It's about genuine purification of the mind.
How?
Through sincerely recollecting the qualities of the Buddha, the Dhamma teachings, the Sangha community, reflecting on your own virtues, even contemplating divine beings.
Well, it's an internal focus.
Very much. And critically, it includes observing 8 precepts, practical actions.
How are those?
Things like refraining from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, intoxicants.
Right.
Also not eating after midday, avoiding entertainment and adornment, and not using high, luxurious beds.
A holistic practice then, mind and body.
Exactly.
And this is where that really stark comparison comes in, isn't it?
Yes. The mind-bending part. The text says the fruitfulness, the merit of this noble Uposatha is immense.
How immense.
So immense that even ruling 16 great kingdoms, all the power and wealth imaginable, is not worth a 16th part of the merit of one noble Uposatha day.
Wow. That's almost unbelievable. Why such an extreme contrast? It sounds like it's just dismissing worldly power entirely.
Well, it's about perspective and scale. The text deliberately contrasts human lifespans and pleasures with divine ones.
I take a point.
A very strong point. Like, it mentions that 50 human years is just one day and night for the lowest level of devas, or gods.
Okay, so our time scale is tiny in comparison.
Exactly. So, compared to those divine joys, let alone the ultimate goal of nibbana, liberation, human pleasures and power seem negligible.
So it's not dismissing worldly effort, but recalibrating value.
Precisely. It underscores the profound, long-term value of ethical conduct and meditative practice. It suggests that's where true, lasting well-being and happiness are found, far beyond any temporary worldly gain.
A powerful way to think about what truly matters. So let's just recap this deep dive. We've really covered a lot.
We have.
From confronting those basic human fears, aging, sickness, death, and finding refuge in self-restraint in beneficial action.
And understanding those inner drivers, greed, aversion, delusion, the roots of suffering, and crucially, how to work with them, how to overcome them.
Yeah, and we saw how these teachings just turn conventional values on their head, redefining success, wealth, expertise, shifting the focus inward.
From external status to inner states, virtuous action, and that amazing Kalama Sutta framework for self-discernment, for figuring things out for yourself in a messy world.
Right, so the practical takeaways seem clear. That importance of inner restraint, the huge power in letting go of greed, hate, delusion.
The wisdom of really looking and knowing for yourself, guided by ethical results.
And the ultimate value of cultivating the mind ethically and through meditation. Something far more valuable than any worldly power.
Absolutely. Those seem to be the core threads running through all these dialogues.
So the final thought for you, listening. If knowledge is really only valuable when you understand it and apply it, how might you start to apply just one of these ancient principles? Maybe self-discernment, maybe observing the mind's reactions. How could you apply it in your own life, starting today? What stands out most clearly to you from this deep dive?
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of sources and try to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge for you. Today, we're jumping into some really fascinating ancient wisdom. We've got these Pali texts, parts of the Anandavago, Samandavago, and Lusafalavaga.
Yeah, and what we're hoping to do for you listening is unpack the really crucial insights here. These texts, they're often dialogues, between people like Ananda and the Buddha, and they tackle these universal human challenges that are honestly still incredibly relevant today.
It's kind of amazing, isn't it? We're talking about things like dangerous states of mind, but also practical ways to build inner strength, wisdom, how our character really shapes how we experience life. So yeah, get ready. It's pretty illuminating stuff, hopefully offering some real tools for resilience today. So where do these texts start? What do they see as the main problem we're dealing with?
Well, what's striking is how direct they are. They go right for the roots of, human suffering. They talk about what they call the three poisons. That's greed, hatred, and delusion. In Pali, it's raga, dosa, and moha.
Raga, dosa, moha.
Oh, right. Exactly. And Ananda, who was the Buddha's close attendant, he basically explains these as the primary roots of all the unwholesome things we do.
So the starting point for trouble. How do they describe the actual impact? What happens when these poisons take hold in someone?
Ananda is really clear about it. He points out how they lead straight to harm, hurting yourself, hurting others, sometimes both. And when you're stuck in them, you feel it. Mental suffering, distress. But here's the really powerful part. He calls these states blinding, eye-closing, ignorance-producing, wisdom-destroying, oppressive, and not conducive to nibbana, which is liberation. The core insight is they don't just feel bad, they literally stop you from seeing what's actually good for you or anyone else.
Blinding and wisdom destroying, that really paints a picture. And you can see that, can't you, just in everyday life. That little frustration that just takes over your thinking makes you snap at someone. Yeah. Or even, bigger conflicts where people just seem completely unable to grasp another side.
Absolutely. It's timeless. These ancient descriptions just hit home, with almost any challenge we face. But the good news is, they don't just diagnose the problem, they also point towards the cure. Ananda mentions the Noble Eightfold Path as the overall way to sort of get rid of these poisons, and that sets us up for the next part.
Right. The solution. So the sources lay out this systematic path for self-cultivation.
Exactly. The three trainings, or sikha. Now, originally, these were duties for monks, but the principles, they apply to anyone really looking for inner well-being.
Okay, so what's the first training? Where do we begin?
First up is high moral discipline. Adisila.
Adisila, got it.
Yeah. And this is really about, practice, restraint, good conduct, seeing the danger even in small mistakes,
Wow.
committing to the precepts. The text really stress this. It's the foundation. It's what starts to reduce the unwholesome stuff and increase the wholesome.
So it's more than just rules. It's actually like shaping your character.
Precisely. And they use some really vivid images to show its power. There's this bit where Ananda asks the Buddha about fragrance.
Oh, yeah.
He says, the scent of flowers only travels with the wind. But the Buddha's answer is, well, it's surprising.
How so?
The Buddha says the fragrance of a virtuous person, someone who, follows the path, keeps the basic precepts like not killing, stealing, lying, is generous and kind. Their fragrance spreads everywhere, even against the wind.
Even against the wind? That's powerful.
Isn't it? The quote is something like, "The fragrance of flowers goes not against the wind, but the fragrance of the virtuous goes against the wind. The good person pervades all directions." The nugget there is that real goodness. It isn't limited by circumstance. Its positive effect just travels, like a ripple effect you can feel.
That fragrance of virtue, I like that. It sticks with you. And talking about analogies, there's another one comparing people to silk versus leather hide. What's that about?
Ah, yes. That one's quite direct. A bad practitioner, someone immoral, is like an old, worn-out, worthless leather hide. Their actions cause harm. Any support given to them doesn't bear much fruit.
Okay, pretty stark.
But a good practitioner, someone moral and well-behaved, they're like a beautiful, soft, really valuable silk cloth from Benares. Their conduct brings huge benefits to themselves and others. Offerings made to them are incredibly fruitful.
So the insight is, the impact of your ethics is tangible. It affects everything around you.
Exactly. It's not just internal. It affects your relationships, how people see you, the positive energy you put out there. It's about who you're becoming and how that shapes your world.
It really resonates.
Yeah.
Okay, so moral discipline is the bedrock. Where does the path lead next? What's the second training?
Next, we move into high concentration. Arhitita.
Ashitita. Concentration.
Right. This is often talked about in terms of the jhanas, these deep states of meditative absorption. Think intense joy, bliss, profound calm, equanimity. But to even get close to those states, the mind needs serious purification.
Purification.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you purify the mind? What kind of impurities are we talking about here?
Well, they use this fantastic analogy of purifying gold.
Gold, tell me more.
Imagine you've got raw gold ore. First, you've got coarse stuff mixed in sand, gravel, easy enough to get rid of. Then you have medium impurities, maybe tiny pebbles, a bit trickier. And finally, the fine stuff, like fine dust. You have to remove all of it layer by layer before the gold is really pure, workable, radiant.
Ah, I see. So the mind is like that. Layers of things obscuring its clarity.
Precisely. The coarse impurities, those are like harmful actions, bad things you say or do. The medium ones are more subtle thoughts driven by desire, ill will, cruelty. And the fine impurities, they're even trickier. Things like constantly thinking about family or your country or even pride in your achievements.
Right. Things that seem almost normal.
Exactly. But the text says once these are progressively dealt with, the mind becomes soft, workable, radiant, not brittle, and ready for any higher realization. It's a clear path for mental training, showing that clarity comes from this step-by-step refinement.
Soft, workable, radiant. That sounds pretty good. And there's another analogy about a goldsmith's skill, right? Balancing things.
Yes, that's a crucial one too. A skilled goldsmith knows they can't just blast the gold with heat, or it burns, but they also can't just let it cool constantly or it won't get pure. And they have to keep observing it carefully. It's a balance.
Okay, heat, cool, observe. How does that apply to the mind?
So applying it to practice. Too much focus only on concentration, the cooling, can lead to dullness, laziness. Too much effort or energy, the heating, can make the mind agitated, restless. And even too much simple observation or equanimity without the right balance might stop you from getting properly concentrated in the first place.
Ah, so it's a dynamic balancing act.
Exactly. The real insight is finding that sweet spot between effort, calm focus, and mindful observation. That's what makes the mind soft, workable, radiant, not brittle, and rightly concentrated, ready for deeper wisdom. It's not about extremes, it's about skill.
That's incredibly insightful for anyone trying meditation or just managing their focus. Okay, so we have moral discipline as the base, then this balanced concentration. What's the third training, the peak?
That brings us to high wisdom, Adhipanya.
Harihambe.
Yeah, and this is really about understanding things as they truly are. Specifically, understanding the Four Noble Truths, Suffering, its cause, its end, and the path to end it. Or another way the text put it, it's about the complete destruction of the mental defilements, or asavas, leading to total liberation of the mind and wisdom.
And someone actively working on all three of these is called a trainee.
That's right, a sekha, someone who is still training.
And these texts, they actually describe different levels of achievement based on how well someone develops these trainings, like stages on the path.
They do. It's not just all or nothing. There's a progression. So the first main stage is called a stream enterer. This person has basically broken through some key barriers like the illusion of a fixed self, deep doubt about the path, and attachment to mere rules.
And what does that mean for them?
It means they're safe. They won't be reborn lower realms, and they're guaranteed to reach full awakening eventually, within 7 lifetimes at most, often fewer.
Okay, that's significant. What's next?
Then there's the once returner. They've significantly weakened the big 3 poisons: greed, hatred, delusion, and they'll only come back to this human world one more time before liberation.
Just once more, getting closer.
Exactly. After that comes the non-returner. They've completely eradicated deeper things like sensual desire and ill will. They won't be reborn here again. They'll appear in higher, pure realms and attain nibbana there.
Never coming back to this world.
Right. And finally, the goal, the arahant. This person has perfected all 3 trainings, destroyed all the defilements, and is fully liberated right here in this life.
Wow. A clear path with defined stages.
Yeah, and the key message woven through all this is that the training is never wasted. Avanya, they call it. Every bit of effort counts and moves you along.
That's really motivating, knowing that no step is truly lost. So this path requires effort, but how urgent is it? And how do the results actually, show up?
Well, there's another farmer analogy that tackles this beautifully. It stresses the urgency, but with a really important nuance.
Another farmer. Okay, let's hear it.
A farmer has urgent tasks, right? Plowing, sowing seeds, watering. They have to do these things. But the farmer can't just stand there and command the crops. Okay, ripen now.
No, definitely not.
Right. So similarly, a practitioner has urgent duties practicing moral discipline, concentration, wisdom. You have to put in the effort, but you can't command liberation. Okay, mind, be enlightened now.
So the takeaway is, do the work, but be patient.
Exactly that. Diligent, consistent effort guarantees results eventually, but they ripen according to their own natural timing, not necessarily when you demand them. It builds patience alongside the effort.
I like that. It feels very grounded. Do the work, trust the process, takes the pressure off needing instant results.
Precisely. And this realistic approach leads to another key distinction the Buddha made concerning seclusion. At that time, other groups practiced really extreme forms of asceticism, wearing rough clothes, eating strange things, living out in harsh places, thinking that was the path.
Right, focusing on the external stuff.
But the Buddha taught a different kind of seclusion, not just physical isolation.
What kind then? Internal.
Exactly. True seclusion in these texts means seclusion from immorality, seclusion from wrong views, seclusion from those mental defilements we talked about. There's this great analogy comparing it to processing rice.
Rice, okay.
A farmer takes the raw paddy, threshes it, winnows it, pounds it, removing the husk, the bran, layer by layer, until only the pure, essential grain remains. Similarly, a practitioner purifies themselves internally, step by step, shedding the coarse and fine impurities until they become foremost, essential, pure, established in the essence.
So real transformation isn't about changing where you are, but changing who you are inside.
That's the core insight. It's an internal refinement process that gets you to your true nature.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. And this internal transformation, it must affect how we interact with others, too. The texts talk about different kinds of groups or assemblies.
They do. They describe 3 types. There's the foremost assembly, where diligent elders inspire everyone. Then the contentious one, full of monks arguing and speaking harshly.
We've all seen groups like that.
Unfortunately, yes. But then there's the harmonious assembly. United, joyful, practicing loving kindness together. And they use this beautiful rain analogy to describe its effect.
Rain, how does that work?
Harmony in the group creates so much merit, it's like a divine abode of joy. And this collective joy, like rain filling mountain streams, then flows into ravines, then rivers, eventually filling the whole ocean, it deepens everyone's concentration and happiness. The powerful message is how a positive, supportive group environment literally nourishes individual growth and well-being. Conflict, conversely, just creates a spiritual drought.
That's such a strong case for the power of community and positive relationships. Okay, speaking of connections, let's talk about karma. It's a word people use a lot, often meaning something like What goes around comes around. But are these ancient texts presented that simply, or is there more nuance?
That's a great point because actually they directly challenge that overly simplistic view. They say if karma was just as you act, so you experience rigidly, then, well, the whole spiritual path to end suffering wouldn't really be possible. It would kind of lock you in.
Interesting. So it denies the possibility of change.
In that simplistic view, yes. But what these texts offer is much more sophisticated. They say the result, the ripening of a karmic action, depends heavily on the state of the person who performed the action.
The state of the person. How does that work?
They explain it with this brilliant analogy, the salt crystal.
The salt crystal. Okay, I'm listening.
Imagine you have just one tiny crystal of salt. You drop it into a small cup of water. What happens?
Makes the whole cup taste salty, undrinkable.
Exactly. That's like a relatively small bad deed done by someone whose mind is, let's say, undeveloped or constricted, limited. For them, that small action can have a really heavy, maybe even terrible consequence, like leading to a bad rebirth.
Okay, makes sense. But I'm guessing there's another part to this.
There is. Now take that exact same tiny salt crystal and drop it into the massive river Ganges.
Right, you wouldn't even notice it. The river's huge.
Precisely. It has virtually no effect on the taste of the river water. It's like the same small bad deed performed by someone who is developed, whose mind, through practice, has become boundless, immeasurable, vast like the Ganges. For them, the result of that same small action might be barely perceptible, maybe just a fleeting unpleasantness in this life, not some major karmic blow.
Wow, that completely changes how you think about karma.
It does, doesn't it? The profound insight is, it's not just about what you do, it's profoundly about who you are when you do it. Your inner state, your level of mental and spiritual development can actually transform how you experience the results of your actions.
So it's not about getting away with things, but about developing such inner spaciousness and resilience that the impact of minor negative actions is diluted. That's incredibly empowering. It puts the focus back on self-cultivation.
Absolutely. It's about transforming your capacity to experience life, including the consequences of past actions. And related to that empowerment is the strong emphasis in these texts on developing unwavering confidence or faith.
Confidence in what?
In the three jewels. The Buddha instructs Ananda to help others establish this really solid faith in. 1, the Buddha himself as fully awakened, perfectly wise, the ultimate guide. 2, the Dhamma, his teachings, seeing them as clearly explained, something you can see for yourself, immediate and to be personally realized, not just blind belief. And 3, the Sangha, the community of dedicated practitioners, recognizing them as practicing well, worthy of respect, and like a fertile field for planting seeds of goodness.
The Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, the three jewels.
Right. And the assurance given is quite remarkable. If you have this deep, unwavering confidence grounded in understanding, you're secure. You won't fall into lower states of existence no matter what else changes externally. It provides this incredible inner stability.
Like a reliable compass in a shifting world. That's very appealing.
It is. And to really drive home the scope and reliability of the Buddha's wisdom, there's this amazing passage where Ananda asks about the reach of the Buddha's voice.
His voice. Like literally how far he could shout?
Well, it becomes symbolic. Ananda asks if his voice can reach across world systems, and the Buddha describes these cosmic scales that are just mind-boggling. He talks about a 1,000-fold minor world system, then a twice 1,000 middling world system, and finally a thrice 1,000 great 1,000 world system.
Okay, that sounds vast. What does that even include?
Thousands upon thousands of suns, moons, Mount Meris, continents, different heavenly realms, just immense beyond our normal comprehension.
Unbelievable scale. And the Buddha says?
He says that, yes, if he wanted to, he could make his voice heard across that entire thrice 1,000, great 1,000 world system.
Whoa. So what's the real point here? It's not just about cosmic superpowers, is it?
No, exactly. It's symbolic. It represents the immense reach, the profound depth, and the universal applicability of the Buddha's wisdom and compassion. It's an assurance that these teachings, this Dhamma, are incredibly robust, reliable, and capable of addressing suffering on any scale for anyone who genuinely seeks understanding. The foundation is vast and utterly dependable.
That makes sense. A symbol of the teaching's universal power.
And it's fitting, perhaps, to end this section by noting that Ananda himself, the one asking many of these questions, gets specific praise from the Buddha in these texts. He's recognized for his amazing qualities, his dedication, and the Buddha actually confirms that Ananda will achieve nibbana, full liberation, in this very lifetime, which again just reinforces that this path, it works. People who follow it diligently can reach the goal.
What a journey through these ancient dialogues today. We really dug into some deep territory, exploring how things like greed, hatred, and delusion work as these texts see it, and then discovering this really practical step-by-step path to cultivate the opposites, building that ethical foundation, training the mind through concentration, and finally developing wisdom.
Yeah, and seeing those powerful analogies, the fragrance of virtue, the silk and the leather, purifying gold, the goldsmith's balance, the farmer's patience, the salt crystal in the river, they really bring the ideas to life.
They really do. We saw how changing yourself internally can actually change how you experience the world, even the results of your past actions, and how finding a source of reliable wisdom, like these three jewels, can offer real stability. So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now? Maybe consider this. This ancient wisdom strongly suggests that real freedom, real resilience, isn't just about fixing external things or quick fixes. It's built from the inside out, patiently, intentionally.
Right. So maybe ask yourself, how might understanding that idea of the fragrance of virtue or the salt crystal in the Ganges shift how you approach your own actions, your reactions, maybe just this week?
And what could it look like in your own life to cultivate a mind that starts to become just a little more soft, workable, and radiant, ready to meet whatever comes your way? Something to think about.